I want to say one thing before I begin this review. So apparently last week I spoiled the true ending to Nobunaga's real story last week in my review, and a couple of Chibits stated that I spoiled that and they were upset. I want to say in a form of apology, I am sorry. I know technically you're already spoiled, but I just want to let you know I'm sorry. I am sorry about that, so I just want you to know that I'm sorry for spoiling the true ending to Nobunaga. I thought, technically everybody's at least heard some form of rough draft from it, since it's very common in a lot of anime. I mean, not just anime focused around Nobunaga, but other anime in general. It has a lot of his storylines that pretty much talks about the way it ended, so I just want to state that right now. So anyways, talking about this episode. The budget was definitely lacking in majority of this episode when it comes into terms of animation. The overall fluid frames per second, when you see the characters' movements in the first half of the episode, it was very slow and rigid. It kind of made the characters look like they were not lifelike at all, like they were really robotic. That's exactly what the characters looked like in the first half of this episode. And I'm not saying that the series is bad. Remember that. Animation, entertainment value, and development of the characters and plot are completely different, but animation-wise, as a whole, it was really bad. Not because it's CGI, but just because of the way the CGI looked, it was a lot worse than it was last episode. Last episode looked really good. This episode, the budget seemed to degrade in quality, probably for upcoming events later on in this series. Now, here's the big thing I want to bring up, okay? Besides the animation being very under budget this episode, and hopefully it doesn't mean that the next couple episodes are going to be under budget either, I enjoyed the development of the story in this episode. Now, I want to clarify a couple things, okay? I know how Nobunaga ends up. For instance, I know the true story of how it ends, technically, but I never knew the information in the middle of the storyline of Nobunaga. I just knew he wanted to conquer all of Japan, and I think he conquered everybody in the end, and then so forth. I don't want to spoil if you didn't listen to my first review. But pretty much what I'm getting at is that I don't know the true story to this, so I don't know if it's actually historically following the events of the real timeline. Even though this time traveler came in from another timeline and he's now Nobunaga, I don't know if they're really following the events properly. I know there's going to be probably some added in things that are different, yes, but I mean, I wonder if it's all staying true to the storyline. Did, for instance, Hirate die in the real timeline of Nobunaga? That's the big thing I wonder about. Did he die like that, but when he got assassinated? I mean, did he die technically like that? This is just the big thing I'm wondering about. Now, the episode overall, I love that character development of Hirate in this episode. It really made me feel upset, and honestly, I had a slight tear forming in my eye when I saw that, because the way he died was really emotional. So far from all the episodes I've seen from this anime season, this is one of the first deaths I've actually seen from this anime season, and it was probably one of the saddest so far, since it is technically the first, just because of how it was done. For instance, you have Hirate, very upset and emotionally disturbed because a bunch of people are making fun of his, master, Nobunaga, because he's a fool, but they just can't comprehend his intelligence. But at the same time, you look at, our character Nobunaga, he technically could be considered a fool, since he's technically not the real Nobunaga, and he came in from another timeline. He was technically a delinquent and didn't care about learning. So, you really have to put this in perspective. I mean, you gotta really respect the old man. You really do. And the way he died, trying to protect his lord, and at the same time dying in the arms of Nobunaga, it was a really heart-touching scene, and I felt like overall in the budget standpoint of this episode, when it comes into terms of animation, that was probably the best moment they used the animation for. So, I'm happy they at least did that. Now, we have a little bit of development going on in this episode, especially with an assassin. We find out that Nobunaga is very trustworthy of people. For instance, he'll just grab random people off the street and put them in as his bodyguards. That is exactly what we learned in this episode, and it shows you that that's not a smart thing to do, especially in this type of era where you have the warring states going on all the time. I mean, it's easy for a lord to get assassinated, and so Nobunaga doing this is incredibly dangerous, and then seeing how this assassin almost snuck into Nobunaga's ranks would not have been good. But this assassin that's on the move, as we can see, he's changed his name. For instance, he wanted the specific person's name, he killed the person, I'm guessing, stole his name, and is now using it. But what this means is that this samurai, or whoever he is, has no honor, because he changed his name so fast, because usually family names in the old ancient days of Japan, if I'm correct, meant a lot. And for him to change his name like that, that means he has no connection to anyone, and that means he's willing to just die anytime. He doesn't care if he dies. So that's what it shows right there. But overall, I like the episode, and I like the way the episode ended, especially with that freaking sunset and all that. That was really badass. So everybody, tell me your thoughts about this episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? And I wonder why this series took so long to freaking sub. I mean, seriously, episode 3 technically is already out, if you did not know. Episode 3 is out, but it's not subbed. Well, at least, you know, it's getting fan sub. I mean, we can all be happy about that. So anyways, everybody, tell me your thoughts about this episode. I love all of you so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.